The week of projections continues, and yesterday I did a video on how the Cubs are going to be able to get to 93 wins. Today I am doing a video on the Zips projections on Fangraphs on pitchers for the Cubs, and basically going to do an over-under, and I want you to participate. Tomorrow we're going to do the same thing for position players. A little bit of reference here. I'm going to look at things mainly like games started, innings pitched, and ERA and WAR. Those are my biggest things. Outside of that, home runs per 9 inning, walks per 9 inning, strikeouts, that's all nice, but those are the main things that I think are most important in looking at projections for pitchers. And you'll find most of these projections are very conservative. Yesterday I talked about PECOTA coming out with 91.5 wins. I actually thought that was pretty aggressive for PECOTA. This being Zips, a different platform, you're going to see pretty conservative stuff. So for a little bit of context, we got that up. We also have Baseball Reference up in case we need to reference any of these players' streaks or anything like that over the last year. And just wanted to give you a little bit more context. This is the WAR leaders for baseball last year. You'll notice the only pitcher in the top 10 is Chris Sale, the Cy Young Award winner for the National League. 6.4 total WAR, while a position player, Aaron Judge being the leader, 11.2, Bobby Witt Jr., 10.4. You'll notice there's very few pitchers. The next one on the list is Tarek Skubal at 5.9. Going down, Zach Wheeler, 5.4, and so on. The amount of WAR that a pitcher can actually accumulate due to the fact that they only make 30 to 32 starts, meanwhile position players are on the field every single day, that's the difference in WAR. It's not that they're a worse player. It's not that Fangraphs is saying that they're any worse than position players. Just the fact that they just have less chances to be able to provide extra value to the team to produce more wins. Ironically, starting pitchers these days are paid the most, even though they can't produce nearly as many wins as a position player if given the superstar status. But anyway, that's just a little bit of context there for you. So we're going to go down the list. I'm just going to go through as many of these as possible that I actually have opinions about. It's funny because I see a bunch of names that I think it's kind of funny. Chris Clark is apparently going to get 66 innings with the Cubs. What? Who is Antonio Santos? And there was another name here. Will Jensen? Where are they getting these from? Where does that come from? We're in 2025, right? Let's just make sure. 2025 projections. Yep. Okay. Interesting. Justin Steele at the top of the list, and these are all categorized by WAR, 2.8 WAR, and Justin Steele last year was a 3 WAR player for the Cubs. They think he will have 145 innings pitched, a 3.34 ERA, and he's going to, for some reason, start 26 games but appear in 27. So apparently Justin Steele is maybe going to come in and close a game out or do a long relief type of thing. I don't know. 2.8 WAR player. I'm going to go over on just about all of it. I'll agree with the ERA floating in that 3 ERA location. Justin Steele, as we open up his profile, you'll see most of the time in the last couple years as he's been a success with the Cubs has been in an ERA at that 3.18, 3.06, 3.07 the last 3 years. The only time he had an ERA over that was in his first season when he was coming in and out of the bullpen as a starter and a reliever at 4.26. So I think that you just always have to assume a little bit of regression with these guys that have been in the league for a little bit, maybe. But he is working on that changeup. If that can be it, he himself said he could be dangerous if he gets that changeup figured out. So, but I'll say that the ERA will be 3.35. How about that? I'm going over on that, but I'm going over on the WAR. And I'm going over on the innings pitching game started. I think he will make at least 30 starts. I think he's going to have a healthy season. I think he's going to be I'm going to go 190 innings from Justin Steele this year. I think he's going to be the horse. I think he's going to go out there. He's got a lot to prove for himself personally after getting to know the guy a little bit, having him on the show. So I think that is where we're seeing Justin Steele. 3.5 WAR, maybe even if he gets to that 190 innings mark, pushing closer to 4. Shota Imanaga, 3.49 ERA. I actually love that. I said to a few people this offseason, with the Wrigley way, the way that it was this year, wind blowing in a ton, I think Shota Imanaga and Jameson Taillon benefited the most from that. And I do believe that Shota Imanaga does see a little bit of regression. Now, really quick here, Shota from a split standpoint, that's what I would like to look at here. 2024 splits, and we'll just go home versus away. His home ERA was 2.72, but his away ERA was 3.14. I mean, and 96 innings at home, 77 on the road. So, I don't know, man. Now that I'm looking at that, he's got so many pitches that he hasn't even revealed to people yet. That's the little caveat with Shota. 173 innings last year. I do think that was unique. So I still will go with the over on the innings pitch. I think he'll pitch 155 to 160 innings. I'm now going to go on the under for the ERA. I'm going to go with a 3.3 ERA. And I think he's going to be back up at a 3 WAR just like last year. Maybe a little bit lower, 2.8, but I'm still going to go on the over. So I think that these are reasonable. I'm a lot higher on Justin Steele based on the numbers. I'm in the same ballpark as Shota Imanaga, but still on the over. You're going to see me be on the over on most of this, but play along with me. If you have any strong disagreements or strong agreements, put it in the comments. Jameson Taillon, listen, Jameson Taillon was not very good in his first half of his career with the Cubs, but then he was solid for all of last year and solid for the second half of 2023. In 2023, as we bring up his stats here, he ended up having an ERA of 4.84, and then in 2024, he was at 3.27. But in 2023, man, I mean, by the beginning of July, his ERA was 6.93. His second start of July to the end of the season, which ended up being a total of 16 games, 15 started, he had a 3.38 ERA. That's where I believe Jameson Taillon is going to be more regularly, as you saw this year, 3.27 ERA for Jameson Taillon. But I do believe there's going to be some regression. I believe that he will be kind of in the 3.7s for his ERA. So I'm going to go under on the ERA still. And there's the weird thing about all this. We want to go over on everything except for ERA. We want to go under. So I still am under on ERA. I think if he's at a 3.7 ERA and he makes 26 to 28 starts, I'm going to put him at 28 starts. I do think that the Cubs are going to spread out a lot of these starters, meaning that they'll pitch every 6 days as often as possible instead of every 5. So I do believe that 26 to 28 starts, 145 innings. Give me another 10 innings on that, 155, and an ERA of 3.7. I think you got a 2-WAR pitcher. What was he last year? Jameson Taillon last year, which, by the way, I think he was at that 28 start mark. In 2024, yeah, exactly, 28 starts, 165 innings, and he was a 2.3. So, yes, I still think a 2-WAR player. Not as good as last year, definitely way better than 2024 or 2023. Okay, moving on to the next. And I'm going to spend, as you notice, we're only 3 guys in. And I'm spending a lot of time on these starters because that's ones that I believe the most in. Ben Brown, I like this. And speaking of Ben Brown, our very loyal listener of the show, David Luter, has submitted his pick to click, and it is Mr. Ben Brown.
Hey, Kyle, my pick to click is none other than Ben Brown. Dude is going to go off this year. He's in a battle right now with Brad Keller for that 5th spot. I believe one of those two will be your 5th starter. But by the time we get to the All-Star break, Ben Brown will have locked that 5th starter position down, and he will be cruising. The kid throws easy gas. He's got that death ball, and he's developed the changeup. I'm telling you, Ben Brown is going to be the guy that's going to surprise a lot of people in 2025.
Yeah, David, 100%. That's pretty much exactly what I've outlined here. I think that he's going to be spot starter, maybe long relief, maybe high leverage relief in the beginning of the year, and then they're going to realize, like, yeah, this is our number 5 starter, and he's going to get those starts. I'm going to say 10 to 12 starts. I'm going to say games appeared, not 20, but actually 25, because, again, he'll be primarily out of the bullpen in the beginning. Might even say closer to 30. 100 innings. And ERA, 3.74 is what they have it at. I think we're going to go under on that. I think we're going to go 3.5. That's where I'm at. And a WAR puts him at 1.8, maybe 2. Chris Flexen, wow. Interesting. Very few people are talking about him. In fact, I don't think he's gotten into a game yet, but for some reason, he's going to make 25 starts for the Cubs and have a 4.96 ERA and pitch 134 innings. Hard pass on all of that. Hard pass. They say he's a 1.1 WAR player. I would be shocked if Chris Flexen made, honestly, any appearances for the Cubs. That's where I stand on that. Next, Matthew Boyd. Big time over on all of it because they are putting him at 13 starts and only 59 2/3 innings pitched. This guy's going to be healthy this year. This guy is coming back with vengeance. I think he's going to make, again, because they spread it out a little bit, I don't think he's truly, quote-unquote, a 4th starter. I think there's this 4, 5, 6 starters that are going to be mixed in and try to make 15 to 20 starts each. So I've got Matthew Boyd at 20 starts. I've got him at 120 innings, going basically about 5.5 to 6 innings per start. Maybe a few games out of the bullpen. And 3.62 ERA. I mean, when you look at Matthew Boyd, he hasn't had many reps the last couple years, but when he's been in there, he's been solid. So the 3.62, the more I watch him, the more I like him in spring training, even though he had a little bit of a rough second half of his outing last time. In 2024, he had 8 starts, 2.72 ERA, and little rough one in 2023, 15 starts, 5.45. I'll go over, my first over on the ERA. I'm going to say a 3.7, so not much over. I think Justin Steele, I even said over, and it was a 3.35, so not much over. If Matthew Boyd had an ERA of 3.7 and made 20 starts as a number 4 starter, I think we're in a pretty good position. Colin Rea is next on the list. We've got him, according to Zips, at a 1 WAR, a 4.46 ERA, making 23 starts and appearing in 27 games. If Colin Rea makes 23 starts for the Cubs, that's, to me, the equivalent of Kyle Hendricks making, 20-something starts for the Cubs last year. It's not expected, nor is it necessarily wanted. Colin Rea, I see more as a swingman, making a spot start every once in a while. I think, again, you can see him as that one of the 4, 5, or 6 starters making between 15 to 20 starts. So I would put him at 15 starts. So I'm going to go under on that. I'm going to go under on the innings. I think he's going to be probably in the 90-ish innings mark. And ERA, last year was his best ERA. I think it was 4.23, something in that neighborhood. We'll just open it up just to make sure I'm quoting that correctly. And a 1 WAR. Yeah, I'll give him a 1 WAR. I'll go under and say 0.9 on the WAR. Last year, that's where he was last year, 0.9. How about that? Last year he had 4.29 ERA. I said 4.23. And last year 167 innings, 27 starts for the Brewers as a number 5 starter. All right. So again on that, lower on the innings. I got the under on the innings. I got the under on the games started. I'll take the under as well on the games overall. And I'm going to go, I'm going to go over on the ERA, 4.6 on the ERA, WAR at 0.9 on the under. Cody Petit saying he's going to pitch 70 innings with the Cubs. I think if Cody Petit sees the Major League roster this year, there's a lot of injuries. That's where I stand on Cody Petit. Javier Assad. Okay, 24 games started, 28 games overall, a 4.13 ERA, and a 0.9 WAR. I don't think Javier Assad gets this much action this year, especially because he's starting the season on the IL. I think guys like Ben Brown, Colin Rea, maybe even Brad Keller are going to get shots at the fifth starter. So for that reason, if any of them are looking good in the first, call it 3 weeks of the season, then Javier Assad probably is going to be put into a primary swingman bullpen role. I believe he has options as well. Let's just double check that. Javier Assad has 2 minor league options. Would not be surprised if those get used this year. There's a lot of pitching options this year for the Cubs, guys. Lots of pitching options for the Cubs this year. So for that reason, I could see Javier Assad's options getting used. But overall, I'm going to go with the under on games started, and innings pitched. I'm going to put him at 90 innings pitched this year. I'm going to say he's similar to Colin Rea in that fact of how many starts, probably 15 starts, maybe even less. But ERA, he's always proven that he can get out of trouble. So for that reason, I've still got him in the mid-3 ERA mode. I know Baseball Savant doesn't like him, and for that reason, y'all can yell at me that, it's eventually going to average out. But, I mean, the dude has how many innings, Major League innings now? He has a total of 294 innings pitched in the majors, and you're saying over 294 innings, he's getting lucky with a career ERA of 3.4? I don't see it. I think he averaged out a little bit this last season at 3.73, but I don't think that he's much higher than that. I'm going 3.5 on the ERA, especially if he's coming out of the bullpen a bunch. Connor Nolan. Again, who? Sorry, I don't know that name. And he's going to get 23 starts? Apologies if you know who that is, but I don't see it. There's so many guys right now that are vying for spots, and I have not seen that name at all. Jordan Wicks, 20 starts. It's very interesting. If we look at the game started total, I feel like this is more than 162. This is way more than 162 games, yet for some reason, oh my goodness. That's funny. That's actually really funny. I don't imagine that they're including minor league starts. This is like close to 200 plus starts that they have for all the Cubs pitchers. It's kind of wild. I don't see Jordan Wicks getting 20 starts. I don't see him being in 20 games. He has minor league options. I think Jordan Wicks is going to be majority in the minors this year. He had a big shot last year, and for that reason, I don't think that the injuries helped him out at all. And now with a plethora of pitching, there's going to be a few things that have to happen for Jordan Wicks to get a legitimate shot this year. I'll put him on the under on all of this. I'm going to say 15 games. I'm going to say 5 starts, and I'm going to say a 4.5 ERA, WAR probably 0.3. Caleb Killian is not getting 82 innings with the Cubs this year. It's just not happening. Moving on. Some of these that I just think are a little bit out there, I'm just gonna skip on by. Cade Horton. I would love if Cade Horton comes up and throws 68 and 2/3 innings and starts 18 games, but I don't see it happening. If Cade Horton comes up, he might get a spot start every once in a while, but I think he's going to be a bullpen guy. Especially if Ben Brown is pitching well. If Ben Brown isn't pitching well, maybe you flip-flop that. I would hope his ERA would be better than a 4.32, but he is going to be a rookie, so I'm going to go 3.9 on the ERA. And WAR on all of that, let's go with a 0.5 probably. Porter Hodge. I am strongly disagreeing with Porter Hodge's projections. Now, I know that last year in, what was it? He came up from AA, I believe, and he wasn't doing all that hot in the minors. and then suddenly just lights out in the majors and not walking many guys versus where he was walking a ton of guys in the minors. He figured out, and he told me when he was on my channel, that if he just attacked the zone, his stuff was going to do its thing. So I think the mindset is different for Porter Hodge now. I think he's leveled up. I think he's going to be ERA well under 3. I think it's going to be a 2.5 ERA. I think he's going to have a 1 WAR. I think he will appear in 60 games. They've got him at 41. He will not start 8 games. What are they talking about? Starting 8 games, Porter Hodge. It's ridiculous. Yeah, so I'm going to go over on the number of games, definitely under on the games started, and way under on the ERA at a 2.5, and way over on the WAR, doubling his WAR pretty much at a 1 even. Ryan Presley, I'm surprised I don't have Ryan Presley starting some games. 52 games, a 3.35 ERA. He's going to have 25 saves. By the way, Porter Hodge was slotted at 11 saves. Ryan Presley, 25 saves. In a perfect world, I would say under on all of these, but I do think Ryan Presley, being at the age that he's at, being on the regression that he's on, I think Ryan Presley is going to start the year as the closer, but I think he is going to eventually not be the closer anymore, and you're going to see Porter Hodge back in that role. So I'm going to say Ryan Presley, 15 saves, so under on that. I'm going to say Ryan Presley will be in 55 games, so they have him at 52, so just barely on the over on that. And I think his ERA is going to be a 3.6. I think his WAR will still be higher than 0.5, though. We'll go 0.7 on his WAR. I don't think Tyson Miller is going to do much on this team. They've got him appearing in 46 games. I think he's going to be given a shot on this roster because he has no options, but I think they're going to have a tight leash on him given the fact that he's given up 7 runs in 2 1/3 innings in spring training. You can say all you want about spring training, but this guy is not a for sure on the roster kind of guy. He's a bubble guy, and the fact that he's struggling that much worries me, along with the fact that he doesn't have velocity, and the Cubs have plenty of guys now that are on the bubble that do have velocity with no minor league options, a.k.a. Julian Merriweather. And for that reason, if it comes down to Tyson Miller or Julian Merriweather, I think they are DFAing Tyson Miller. I'd like to see him successful. I just think with all the options they have this year on guys, I think that he's not going to see much time. Ryan Brazier, 42 games. I'm going to go with the over on that for sure. 41 innings, over on that for sure. 3.49 ERA, under on that 100%. I'm going to go with a 2.7 ERA from Ryan Brazier and a 1 WAR. Walker Powell, no. Chris Clark, no. Eli Morgan, they've got him at a 3.86 ERA. He's going to apparently start 4 games. What are we talking? Maybe as like an opener, I could see it, but not a starter. 44 games, 65 1/3. They've got him, I guess, being a multi-inning guy. I don't see that either. I'm going to go with Eli Morgan, 55 games. I'm going to go with 60. Yeah, I mean, every once in a while he might throw more than an inning. So I'm going to go with 62 innings, so under on the 65. And an ERA, I like his stuff. I've been watching in spring training. I really like it. I'm going to go with 3.2 ERA and WAR of 0.8. So I feel pretty strongly about Eli Morgan based on what I'm seeing. Caleb Thielbar, 49 games. I don't know. I know Tyler Zombro was really high on Caleb Thielbar. I think this guy, what's his age? He's up there in age. He did not have a good season last year. He's 38. I don't see it. I'll go with 30 games from Caleb Thielbar. I'll go with 27 innings pitched, and I'm going to go with a mid-4 ERA, and we'll say a 0.1 WAR. Daniel Palencia, I really want this guy to figure it out. Man, I want this guy to figure it out so much. So I am going to be really aggressive with Daniel Palencia. This year, Daniel Palencia, here we go, my pick to click. He's going to throw 36 games according to Zips. I'm going to go with 45 games from Daniel Palencia, no starts. I'm going to go with 50 innings, so under. They've got him at 54. I'm going to go with a 3 .09 ERA from Daniel Palencia. Yes, that's what I'm going with. And I'm going to say a 1 WAR from Daniel Palencia out of the bullpen. It's got to happen this year. It's got to happen. They got Brad Keller starting 15 games, appearing in 27, 97 and 2/3, a 4.7 ERA. I would love if Brad Keller appeared in this many games. I would not love it if it was a 4.7 ERA. I would love this guy to get a shot because of how good he's looked in spring training, aside from really one bad inning. I just don't know how much it's going to happen. And I don't know how sustainable it's going to be during the season. What we've seen is literally 3 or 4 games. I'm going to go under on all of it. I don't think he's going to start 15 games. I don't think he's going to be in 27 games. And I don't think he's going to have... I think he's going to be, honestly, if he is in that many games, I think he's going to be a negative WAR player. 5.5 ERA, negative WAR player. I really want him to be successful. It's such a long shot. I think Keegan Thompson's going to be DFA'd, unfortunately. So we'll move on from him. Luke Little, 3.65 ERA, 50 games, 1 start. He did make 1 start last year. It was a opener. 49 1/3. I like it all. I'm going to go on the under on games. I'm going to go with 45 games. I'm going to go on the under on innings. I'm going to go with 42 innings. And I'm going to go on the under on ERA at let's go at 2.85 ERA. WAR will end up being 0.5, so going on the over for that. Phil Bickford, I don't see him making the team. Julian Merriweather, I hope he makes this team, and I hope he appears in 50 games. Over compared to the 37 they say. I hope he throws 55 innings over compared to the 38 they have, and I hope he has a 3.1 ERA, way under on what they say is a 3.79, and is a 0.8 WAR player. Nate Pearson, I'll touch on Nate Pearson very quickly here because I think he will be impactful. They got him at 51 games, 1 start, 59 1/3 innings, and a 4.10 ERA. Nate Pearson feels to me like a guy that will take an even bigger step forward this year. So I'm going to go with a little bit less games just because of how much high leverage pitchers we have. I'm going to go with 45 games. I will say every once in a while he's a multi-inning guy. So I'm actually going to go with 62 innings, a little bit higher. And I'm going to go on the ERA a 3.1 ERA. WAR of, call it 0.4. And anyone else that I want to touch on, I'm looking. Unfortunately, Ethan Roberts, I don't think he's going to get much time on this team. I think he's probably going to be on his way out here soon to get an opportunity with another team. Jack Neely, maybe we could talk about him, but that would be a stretch. Gavin Holloway is not going to be on this team at all this year. I feel very strongly about that. All right, that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Appreciate you guys watching.